Okay, I think we're live.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
Okay.
we are live now.
Hello and welcome to our Teens Talk Show hosted by the EBC Teens today. Today with us we have a very distinguished guest, Miss Latika Nath. And I would like to wish every Indian who's watching a very happy Independence Day.
Thank you.
Miss Latika Nath is the first woman wildlife biologist in India to hold a doctorate on tigers and enter the field of tiger conservation at a time when nearly no holistic scientific work had been done on tigers in India.
She has spent over 25 years working at the grassroots level for tiger conservation, eventually changing focus from academic work to working with the tribal communities in the buffer zone of Kanha Tiger Reserve and the Forest Department of the Government of India for tiger conservation.
She established the renowned Singinawa Jungle Lodge and through Singinawa Foundation worked on education, health, art and alternate energy programs for the tribal villages in the region.
Her life and work has been featured on multiple programs on National Geographic, the Discovery Channel, as well as BBC. She has worked with numerous international organizations on many species, including the Asian elephant, the Gangetic dolphin, the Arna buffaloes, and many more.
For her work, she has been awarded the Karamveer Puraskar, in addition to other recognitions. She is an ardent traveler, photographer, diver, and spends time exploring the myriad wilderness spaces of the planet.
Okay, so now we'll have a round of introduction. We have a bunch of our council members over here. So my name is Aryan Shivappa. I am the global president of EBC and I live in India.
Hello, my name is Shreya. I serve as vice president and I am from Connecticut, USA.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shrikar. I serve as the global ambassador for EBC Teens, and I'm from the USA.
Hi everyone, my name is Sharvi and I'm 16 and I'm from the USA.
Hello everyone, my name is Swasti and I live in India.
Hello everyone, my name is Madhav. I am 11 years old and I live in Melbourne, Australia.
Hi everyone, my name is Arohi. I'm 12 and I live in India.
Hi, I'm Shaurya. I'm 13 and I live in India.
Hi, I'm Rahul and I'm 13 and I live in Ethiopia.
Hi, I'm Gauri. I'm from India and I'm 17 years old.
Hi, I'm Anirudh. I'm 14 and I'm from Singapore.
Hi, I'm Shardul. I'm 17 and I'm from India, Bangalore.
Hello, I'm Isha and I'm 12 years old and I'm from the UK.
Hello,
Okay, so
I'm
I think-
Swara. I'm 13 and I live in India, Pune, India.
Okay, so I think that's everyone, right?
Yeah. So I think Madhav will start the question and answer session. Madhav, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So the first question, what was your life like before becoming an active wildlife conservationist?
Ma'am, I think you're on mute.
You're muted.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Okay, I said it's the same, and I was in school. That's the only difference. After school, I did my college, and then I got into this field. I mean, I've always been working with the outdoors, so no difference.
Okay, so how did you get into wildlife conservation?
Oh, long story. Well, my dad was one of the pioneers of wildlife conservation in India. He was involved with the setting up of the Wildlife Protection Act. He was on the Indian Board of Wildlife for nearly 19 years. He's a doctor, but his second hat was wildlife conservation. And he was a special advisor to Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister of India on wildlife. So I grew up around conservationists or doctors. And very early on, I think I was about 6 or 7 when I decided this is what I wanted to do, and I've just never changed my mind.
Wow, that's great. Can you describe your work on a daily basis?
Oh, there's no routine because I do so many different things, and you know, it depends on where I am, what I'm doing. So there are days when I'll be, you know, if I'm diving, then I have a different routine. If I'm studying something that's nocturnal, I'll have a different routine. If I'm studying something in a desert, it's different to when I'm studying in the mountain. And then when I'm home and I'm working on articles or papers or analyzing research or doing post-production for my photography, then it's a completely different schedule. So I do many things and my time just gets divided depending on what I am and where I'm doing. But in the field, of course, it all depends on which species you're looking at and what the behavior pattern of that species is, because then you have to gear around that.
So, were you never afraid of tigers and other wild animals? I mean, how do you interact with such wild animals in a safe manner?
So there's, I was never afraid of wildlife. I think primarily because I've been brought up like that. I think the first time that they took me into the wild was when I was about 6 weeks old and my parents took me on a fishing trip. So I've really spent a lot of time outdoors. In fact, you're from Assam and we were just talking, and I spent a lot of time on the Brahmaputra, and I've seen a lot of wild game in Assam. So no, never had a problem. There is no such thing as a formula for interacting safely with wildlife. Basically, as children, you need to learn to keep your distance. You need to understand that when you go into the wild, there will be guides and naturalists who are trained to handle this, and you need to follow instructions. You just can't take a chance because every animal has a circle of fear or their own personal space, whichever way you want to look at it. And if you encroach upon this circle of fear, they can react and they can run away, or they can attack, or they can do a mock charge, depending on which animal it is. So you really need to be careful about that.
That's great. Can you explain any difficulties you've experienced while you were in your journey?
Sorry, say that again. Any difficulties?
Any difficulties that you faced during your journey?
During my journey to become what I am today? Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, it's been an up and down thing. You know, being a woman in the field was not the easiest thing. 30 years ago, there was almost nobody who worked in the field at that time. Just 1 or 2 people who were filmmakers or writers or naturalists. And people would look, I mean, when I was doing my research for my doctorate, I would have people coming up to me and saying, we want to meet the researcher from the Wildlife Institute of India who's doing work on tigers. And I'd say, oh, it's me. And they'd say, no, the man who's working on tigers. And I'm like, no, it's me. And people wouldn't get it. And, you know, people just expect that when you work in the wild, they have this image of this big, tall guy with, you know, wearing shorts like in Africa, khakis and whatever, and they think that that's the kind of person you're going to be. But when you meet somebody like me who's like 5'3" and, you know, not really a big strapping burly guy, they just don't know how to deal with it. So it's these are issues that I've always had. Of course, it's very tough going because there's been times when you just, you know, today there's mobile connectivity and there's ways of communicating. But when I did my research, there was no such thing. So there would be days, well, by days, months when I would just be out in the wild and no access to anyone. My parents wouldn't know where I was. And to make a phone call, I had to drive sort of 40 kilometers to a local exchange, and there would be a dial phone on the wall, and you would have to pick it up and book a call, and it would be only for so many minutes, and you could book a personal call or a lightning call. There were all these funny things. So that was a challenge. And of course, if your car broke down in the middle of the jungle, you had to just trek it out in the dark anyhow, you know, just get to safety. So there's been a lot of stuff that's happened over the years that you've learned to deal with and take care of.
So by all the things which you just said, I can conclude that you have immense passion towards wildlife. Because 30 years ago, you still, fought against all the odds of society. And, you know, many people would have just backed off, you know, like everybody tells, oh, you're a girl in this field. People don't, stand up to that. So you're very determined, I must say.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, it's what, there's a new term that has been bandied about a lot, but it's the new Japanese term. They call it ikigai. And they say when you find your ikigai, you know what you want in life. Well, this is my ikigai. So I'm very happy. I can't imagine doing anything else. This is what I want to do.
So, can you describe a fascinating and captivating experience that you have had as a conservationist?
So I just did this little piece for the Indian Express, the New Indian Express, which is this new, it's a publication in India. And they asked me exactly the same question. And I don't know how many of you know of Jane Goodall. Do all of you know about Jane Goodall? Yes? Okay, cool. So I was in Tanzania, in Gombe National Park, to celebrate Jane Goodall's 80th birthday. And she was in the park, and it was just, for me, it was like a dream come true, because I had read about her, and I had read about all the chimpanzees that she had, and I knew all their names. And it was, for me, it was like going to LA and going for the Hollywood Walk of Fame, because you could, you know, each one of the chimpanzees was a star for me. It was just amazing. Other people couldn't relate to it like that. And we went to Gombe. There was this friend of mine and me, and she's not done as much wildlife stuff as I had, except that her family really, you know, used to go out into the countryside a lot in India. And we were the only two people there, because it was almost the end of season. And they took us in this boat on Lake Tanganyika, which is like an ocean. It's huge. And there was this wooden boat with this one guide and the two of us girls. And we landed on the shores of the forest. And there was this little path going up. And of course, we had our big camera backpacks and, you know, big camera in our hand. And we set off on this path. And we went about 45 minutes along the path, and we came across this whole group of chimpanzees. And they were just sitting there, and they were chilling, and one or two of them were grooming each other. The little babies were playing. It was really cool. And then suddenly it was like some sort of unseen, unheard signal. And they all just got up and they walked off the path straight into the jungle. And the guide said, come on, let's go. So we just picked up everything and we went off the path into the jungle. It was thick undergrowth. You really didn't have much visibility. And we realized that this path was going up the mountainside. So we started going up the mountainside, and it got worse and worse and worse, till it was just thick undergrowth. And we were literally lying down and doing that crawl on our elbows, like you see, you know, like when you go into one of these adventure things and you have to crawl through on your elbows and knees onto things. We were doing that because the animals go through these little paths underneath bushes and leave these little sort of holes. So that was the only way that we could go, and we kept going higher and higher. And then we realized that the chimpanzees had decided that they were going to hunt. And then there was all these screams and shouts, and you couldn't hear what was going on. And all these chimpanzees were like shouting at each other and yelling. And it was just getting really like intense. We didn't know what was going on. And we kept climbing. And about 2 hours into the climb, we realized that we were on this mountainside, holding on to vines. We couldn't see where the ground was below our feet, because we were just literally climbing like almost like a a mesh of vines to get up the hill. And if you look down, it was a straight drop down. And, both of us thought we were going to just fall or die or something, because we had these huge camera bags. We couldn't go up, we couldn't go down. We were stuck in the middle, and it was impossible to find a foothold. And these chimpanzees were hunting around us. And we found that there was this group of colobus monkeys which were right there, and they were trying and hunt one of the colobus to catch them and eat them, because chimpanzees are carnivorous and they can hunt as well. So they're omnivores. And we were both in tears. And then we just said we can't go down, so we may as well go up. And it took about almost 4 hours of climbing, and we got to the top of the mountain. And then to our relief, we found the chimpanzees there, and I got to spend about an hour and a half, 2 hours with them. And I took these amazing photographs of these little tiny babies that hadn't been named yet because they were so little. And those photographs actually won some awards, and they're a part of a book called Remembering Great Apes. So you can see them in that. So that's one of the stories I'll never, ever forget.
That is good. So our next question to you is, how did you get your title Tiger Princess?
Okay, so that's actually very logical. I'm a princess and I study tigers, so they call me the Tiger Princess. This happened when I was doing my PhD on the tigers, and National Geographic found out about the work I was doing, and I was the first Indian and the first Indian woman with a doctorate on tigers, and the first person to study tigers from the University of Oxford. So they just called me the Tiger Princess, and they did this 1-hour film on me. So that's the story of the Tiger Princess.
Ma'am, describe the event that led you for receiving the Karmavir Puraskar.
Okay, who's asked me that question? Sorry, I'm a bit blank. Okay, hi, great. Just raise your hand so I can see who's asking me. Okay, so the Karmavir Puraskar was given to me. I now have, by the way, the next one up from that, which was I was awarded last year. So I got the Karmavir Puraskar because of the work I've done for tiger conservation and for integrating communities with the tiger conservation movement. So that's how I got the Karmavir Puraskar. And now I've got the Karmavir Maharatna, which is the next one up from that.
Okay, so next question for you is, can you please describe what recognition, what does recognition means to you for all the wildlife thing that you've done?
The Puraskar or just the general?
Yeah.
The Karmavir Puraskar?
Yeah.
Okay, it's been an amazing journey because I think a lot of people look up to me as a role model. So it's been amazing to be able to share my story with people and motivate other people to be able to believe in their dreams, to believe in their dreams with a passion, and to have the perseverance to work towards making their dreams come true. So I think that being a Karmavir Puraskar awardee allows you to be able to get your story out to people and show them that it is possible. And I think that's the really special thing about this.
Okay, that was an amazing answer. So I have been speaking to Miss Latika. I've spoken to her a couple of times, and the first conversation went long. And we did discuss about something called ecological architecture. She came up with this, and I was very intrigued. And I also spoke about it with all the teams, and they had never heard anything of like that. So I would like Miss Latika to talk about ecological architecture.
Okay, look, I'm not an architect, okay? So, I mean, this is not a good place. It's not something that I can talk to you in detail about. But
just
you
a brief
have types of new architecture concepts that are now emerging. biocentric and ecocentric architectural forms. Okay, basically these look at natural things in the environment and how to make architecture use these forms, shapes, colors, ideas, and to become a part of the ecosystem. So biocentric would look at only living organisms. Ecocentric would be making it a part of the ecosystem. There are many people who are doing an amazing work on all of this. We're actually doing something like this in one of our projects, which we're hoping to start this end of this year or early next year in Kana, where my brief to the architects was that we have to create something where animals will continue to roam the land that it is on. And it should have a zero footprint. It should be totally eco-friendly. And we use only natural material and what is locally available. So it's, all of this stuff that we're going to be putting together to create this form of a lodge, if you want to call it that, but it's not going to be a lodge. So yeah, so
I've seen some plans like this in foreign countries, but is it possible in India?
Of course, of course.
Like, is there any sample project, or is this which you're going to do is the first one?
It's in the wildlife tourism industry, I think this is the first one.
How recently did you discover this idea of ecological architecture? Was it something that you've been thinking about like from your childhood, or did it only pop in like recently?
No, a couple of years now. Couple of years now.
So
I had one more question. Shreya, I'll ask this question and then you can. So in India, many people have this mindset about job opportunities. So you either have three jobs, right? A lawyer, engineer, or a doctor. So this is the basic mindset of all the parents.
And architects.
So yeah, and now many other things are coming up. But since you have been in the wildlife field for so many years, I would like to ask you, what are the different, various fields of jobs which teens can opt for in the wildlife segment, other than a biologist or a conservationist or a photographer?
So I don't think we should restrict it to just wildlife. Let's talk about the environment.
Okay. Yeah, environment as a whole.
Yeah, I think a hugely important section is, of course, the climate change area, right? So I think that's really, really important. I think marine conservation is another area which is really important. I mean, look at what's happening in Mauritius, look at what's happening in Galapagos with the oil spills and plastic pollution and plastic rain now in places like California. I think marine conservation is an area where you will be able to do a lot of work, which could be coming from an engineering background, an economics background, physics also, and of course biology. So there'll be lots of things that can combine, and you can really innovate in this field. Of course, it's not just climate change and pollution, but also issues like water conservation, because I think fresh water is a really, really important part of everything that supports life on Earth. And I think it's really important that we look at water conservation much more seriously than we have till today. Also, with the development projects coming in at the speed that they are, and people using material like concrete to construct, they're actually damaging traditional water pathways and blocking the flow channels in natural watersheds. So I think hydrology is another area where you'll be able to do a lot of work. Soil science is also really, really important. So I think soil related issues are also very connected with the environment. And then sustainable use of resources like wood, like timber, like bamboo, and innovating and creating new textiles, new forms of building materials from these resources. I think that's another area which is very important. If you're interested in medicine, then research into medicinal plants, traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge is another area which I think has not got as much attention as it could have. So that's all of this. Then, of course, if you're interested in people and culture and all of that, then there's all the documentation of indigenous and local cultures and lifestyles, their knowledge, their farming, the seeds they use, the way they work in harmony with nature, their art, their craft, their music, because all of that impacts on what is happening in an ecosystem, especially where you have a lot of endangered species and animals in protected areas. So I think those are all areas that you can look at very easily. Environmental economics is getting really, really important, and valuation of ecosystem services. So I think those are areas that are going to become very, they're already very important, they're going to gain even more importance. Carbon sequestration, how you allot resources to every country, how you can actually negotiate between countries on using carbon sequestration as a basic unit. I think that's really important, and I think that's going to be a very important part of negotiating, across political boundaries. So I think that's something that's very, very important. Of course, hands-on fieldwork with protecting wildlife, both ex situ and in situ, working with zoos and conservation organizations, creating data banks. All of that is another area that is going to gain a lot of importance. But it's not just that. It's also about filmmaking. It's about animation. It's about creating experiences. I mean, can't we do a virtual zoo? Can't we do an area where you now can use holograms and sight and sound and smell to give people the experience of being in a desert or being in a tropical rainforest? Can't we create, you can have a Disneyland, so why can't you have one of these where people can actually meet animals like this? So all of these subjects also relate up to all of this. So really, it's the world is open. It just depends on what you want to do. Genetics, there's a huge role for genetics. We're doing a lot of work connected with genetics. There's also a huge role for evolutionary science. So looking at how the evolution of a species happened, when we found, a species became independently diverged from its original source species, things like that. There's so many things. It just depends on what you want to do. And of course, last but not the least, don't forget zoonotic disease. With SARS and Ebola and COVID-19, you know what that's like. So there's a lot of work to be done with epidemiology, with studying zoonotic disease. So you can look at those issues as well if you want to study medicine. So really, so many options.
I think you just covered every possible major they offer.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And so it just
someone
shows...
recently told me that aeronautics is a city within itself. I think wildlife is like a planet within itself. You have like millions of jobs in every single field.
Yes.
So how do you think we should combat the global warming problem?
So I think it's going to take a big change on the part of the thinking of governments. There's no shortcut of doing this. And I think with your generation coming up with the ability, the exposure, and the knowledge to say no, that's really going to be the game changer. I think too many people from my generation and older than me are stuck in doing things in a particular way. I think the COVID lockdown is going to be a big boost, but the COVID lockdown is also scary because people have forgotten that fires are burning in the Amazon, that climate change is still happening. People are only talking about the lockdown and what's happening because of that. So I think there's good and there's bad. I think we really need to look at concrete alternatives. Did you know concrete contributes 10% to the global warming? Because both the production of concrete and buildings made from concrete both add carbon dioxide and heat to the world. So we need to look at things like that. We need to look at alternate fuel sources for sure. We need to look at alternate energy and how to make it more affordable and more usable by the common man. So I think there's many things that we'll have to look at. I think industry is going to have to respond in a very big way because it's the industry that will have to change its engines and its machinery and the fuel that it's using and become more aware of using alternate energy and more earth-friendly technology. And I think also we need to start looking not at the world as being our only world. It's a plan A. There is no plan B. We're not citizens of a country or a state or a city. We're global citizens, and all of us, I think today, look at the earth as one earth. You know, the way we travel, the way we're sitting in different parts of the continent, the planet and talking, it wasn't possible 10 years ago. So we're no longer citizens of just a country. It's like having a pass from one particular place to get to another place, but that's just for governance. In reality, we all realize that we're living on this one planet, and the minute that one planet concept comes into force and we realize how precious we are and we cannot eject from our seats and take a parachute and go somewhere else, we really will start taking care of this earth.
Actually, that's our EBC's motto as well, one world, one family. So it really fits right in.
Wow, great.
And I believe Anirudh has another question.
Yeah, I do. So who is your intended, like we've been told that you have written some books and all. So who is the intended audience of your books?
So I have lots of different books. I've done books for children, which are 5 to 8 year old children. I've done books which are scientific texts, which are meant for other colleagues and students in that field. I've done coffee table books, which are intended for the general public. So it just depends on which book you're talking about and what I'm looking at.
Yeah, wow. So yeah, what is the impact you hope your books have created on society?
I think a lot of people, as I said, I told you the range, right? It goes from children's books to scientific texts to coffee table books. I think all of it just puts it together with people wanting to know more about what I do and to understand why I'm so passionate about conservation. And if I can convert even a handful of people into understanding what I'm trying to say and living life with a more humane attitude, with a more caring attitude for the planet, more humane attitude towards animals and wildlife, I think I'll have met one of my goals at least. So I think it's basically awareness and to share my knowledge.
Yeah, that's true, because sharing your knowledge is probably what's most gratifying to you, right? When somebody says, oh, I've learned so much from watching your shows and from reading. So I think you've touched upon this briefly before about zoos and circuses and how you'd like them to be like virtual, and that would be really cool. Can you tell us a little bit about how zoos and circuses actually treat their animals? Like your opinion on it?
Okay. So I think that there are some absolutely superb zoos out there. Okay, one case in point is the San Diego Zoo. I spend a lot of time talking to many people in the San Diego Zoo, and I have many friends there. They're doing absolutely cutting edge research on species protection, on creating gene banks, on allowing for captive bred populations to be rewilded. So I think there's just amazing stuff happening there. And I think they're also learning a lot about how to treat animals for injury, for illness, diseases like cancers. So I think there's just, it's a miracle group of people that work in zoos like the Bronx Zoo, like San Diego Zoo. I think it's great. Also, the Durrell Zoo, one of you is from England. Yeah, so the Durrell Zoo is another great place. And of course, the Zoological Society of London is something I spend a lot of time with. So I think, yeah, I think zoos are not bad. There are zoos in parts of India and in some parts of the world which are still very old-fashioned. They exist today as they existed 100, 150 years ago, where animals are kept in suboptimal conditions. And they do not have enough resources to give them the adequate medical support or adequate intellectual stimulation or even space just to be. And I think those zoos are appalling. We need to shut them down, and ASAP. I think we've all read about the horrific tiger temple incident in Thailand, where they discovered what they were doing with those tigers and they had to shut that down. So I think there's been just some really horrible stuff. Putting myself right out there, the Chinese animal farms are appalling. I think they need to stop now, but unfortunately China is this great black huge monster dragon that will not listen to what anybody else is saying. And I've been with them at different really big conferences and on discussions, and they just have this closed mind and blinkered approach, and it's our country and our animals, we'll do what we want. So that's really not good news. It's a huge issue for many, many people, because the demand in animal products from China has led to most of the poaching and wildlife traffic and trade in wildlife products across the world. Do you know that wildlife trade accounts for close to 12% in terms of money of what is earned from the global trade in drugs? And you know how much money the drug trade earns in the world, the illegal drug trade? And imagine 12% of that is wildlife parks. So we're not geared up to deal with stuff like that. So we really need to take care of it. But by and large, in most circuses, the use of animals has been stopped. So there's just a few that are left, and I think those will also be soon weaned off. So I think that's my stand on captive breeding.
Ma'am, can you say what is your viewpoint of circus? Circus, they use animals now. So what do you think about them?
Very much less now. And it's more or less illegal now. So I think most circuses, they're actually on the way out. And for instance, now in India, we've completely stopped dancing bears. Having snake charmers is totally out. Even we've now, it was the World Elephant Day on the 12th. We've actually come out with a statement which says refuse to ride. I'm the ambassador for the Responsible Tourism Society of India. And we just signed an agreement with Wildlife SOS to completely stop abuse of elephants and mistreatment of elephants in the tourism industry. So I think things are on the way out. And I think what was there, we all know it's bad news. There's nothing to say about this. It's stating the obvious. But we're working towards making sure that it doesn't continue anymore.
On the topic of elephants, this has been an issue for a long time, but we have a bunch of people who are going and killing elephants in Africa and selling their tusks. What do you think about that?
I just told you, I said the Chinese demand is leading to all of this. And the Chinese are refusing to change their minds. So they're actually blocking putting elephants on the endangered, the CITES list and the red list. And preventing trade in elephants. So I think China is a huge problem here, and we need to take care of it. And that's not only true of elephants; it's true of whaling. It's true of everything. Everything. Chinese eat.
So I just wanted to ask. Recently, a pregnant elephant was killed by eating a pineapple in Kerala. So, what are your views upon that?
Okay, so nobody is going to tell you that their views on this is good. Nobody. That's not the right question to ask. The right question to ask is, an elephant was killed by eating pineapple stuffed with fireworks in Kerala. How can we stop it? Why did it happen? And what can be done about it? The views are obvious. It's horrible. There's no way any animal should be killed because it's eaten a pineapple with fireworks. Okay, so why did it happen? There are populations of animals like wild boar, which increase very rapidly, and wild boar go into fields to raid crops. In India, there is no crop insurance, and the poor people have no means of protecting their crops against species like the wild boar when there is an overpopulation. In desperation, sometimes they put out these fireworks or even live electrical wires to try and kill these animals from coming into the field. Imagine that you're a little farmer, you have only 1 acre or half an acre of land. You work for 4 months to get your crop up, and in one day, these guys come and rip up your whole field. So your entire family has no food and no income. So this is their way of dealing with it. Now, this pineapple had not been left for the elephant. The elephant just happened to be in that area and accidentally picked it up and ate it. And then she walked another few days, quite a long distance from where she was, and got into the water to soothe her mouth because it was so badly burnt, and that's how she died. So there are lots of people who've been talking about this term called human-animal conflict. And it's a whole science of dealing with human-animal conflict. I today have got to the point where I don't want to call it human-animal conflict anymore. I want to talk about sharing spaces between human beings, humankind, and wildlife. Okay, so we need to start to understand what is happening. We need to address the problems of people living on the edge of wildlife habitat. We need to understand that you have wildlife in cities, you have urban wildlife, you have rural wildlife, and most of our spaces are shared. And when you do development planning as a government, you need to take this into account and help people to deal with it. That's what's happened.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, there was a recent controversy regarding this tiger called Avni the tiger a year or two back, right? Yes. So for those of you who don't know who Avni the tiger is, she was instigated by a few village men in Uttarakhand, I believe, and she acted on her basic survival instinct, and she killed them, right? And
just take this call, guys. Keep talking.
Okay. So, one question which kept me very uneasy was that, at one hand, we run these campaigns called, Save the Tigers. We run these campaigns called Save the Tiger, we should preserve our wildlife. And at the other hand, we're killing all these tigers who are acting on their natural instinct. So, ma'am, what is your stand on it, and what is your view regarding this whole controversy?
Just give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. Just 1 second.
Yeah,
sorry.
Sure.
So while ma'am is just finishing something up, she talked a little bit about sharing spaces, and I think that might relate to it in a way, because we need to learn how to live in harmony with nature, right? Instead of just keeping it on two ends and we're both constantly fighting, that defeats the purpose.
Yeah, an ecological architecture, I think, is a way to do it. It's a scientific way of approaching it.
So if we can learn to live in harmony, that would be the best situation. That way we won't have to worry. Yes, Swasti, you were saying something?
No?
693450.
Ma'am, I believe you're muted.
Sorry, you were asking me about Avni?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, my question to you is that, at one hand, we run these campaigns, save tigers, preserve our wildlife, and at the other hand, we're killing these tigers who just acted on the basic instinct of survival. So what is your stand on that?
No. There's a lot more to it than that. If you ever talk to anybody who lives in an area where tigers have become man-eaters and start killing human beings, you cannot understand the fear it generates. Can you even begin to think of what it would be like that if you got out of your house to walk a dog, you could be attacked and killed on your doorstep? Or if you and your best friend were walking to school, you could be attacked and one of you could be killed and picked up. The fear it generates is unbelievable. And if you have a tiger that is repeatedly killing people, it becomes very difficult for the forest department staff, for police, for people who work at night, for women to go out and cut grass to get fodder for their cows, for children to walk to school. It becomes impossible to live there. Under those circumstances, we have two options. We can pick up the tiger, tranquilize it, and remove it and put it in a zoo. Or if things become bad, they shoot the tiger. Okay? Now, translocation and putting it in a little zoo is not always the best solution. We already have more tigers in captivity than we have the resources to handle properly. Okay, so it's not good to keep picking up tigers and putting them into little iron boxes. It doesn't work like that. And sometimes when the situation is really bad, you do need to cull, you do need to put down an animal when this happens. It's also very important when you have an overpopulation that you need to cull it to get to a point where the existing population remains healthy and there is no threat from the surrounding sea of humanity that they are going to retaliate and burn down the forest to get it into an area, manageable for them. So these are all issues that you have to deal with in the field. So yes, it's really bad to have to shoot a tiger. It's the absolute last resort. But if a tiger is a man-eater and you are a conservation biologist, you are not a preservationist, you are managing wildlife, then sometimes it is important to take out a problem animal. That's my take on this.
I have a question that do all the tigers are man-eaters or only some of them become after a period of time?
No, so all tigers are not man-eaters. Okay, most tigers are not man-eaters. Some it's sick or hurt, its teeth get broken, it has a wound that doesn't heal, it accidentally comes across someone, it can then turn into a man-eater. But it's the exception, not the rule. I've walked with tigers, I've been on foot with tigers, I've had tigers walk up, smell me and walk off, literally walk up to me, up to my leg, smell it and walk off. I've never had a problem. I'm sitting with you, there's no issue. So all tigers are not man-eaters. Just like all human beings are not criminals and murderers and serial killers. But if you have a serial killer or a murderer who's really, really bad, you do sometimes have to put them away. When they're really, 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 really bad. So that's the same thing with tigers. In everything, there's no such thing as everybody is perfect. Sometimes you get one person who's not okay, and then you deal with them in that way. Okay.
Earlier you talked about how we need to share our environment with animals and other wildlife. So how has expanding homes for human purpose affected animals and plants and changed the climate?
Wow, that's going from here to here. Okay, we've already talked about how it's going to change the climate because we've talked about, concrete and development and global warming. We've done that. So I'm not going to address the climate change. The minute you start reducing the space available for animals to live in, it's going to lead to animals not having homes and not being able to live and not being able to have babies and not being able to reproduce. So populations die out. So habitat loss is one of the greatest reasons why we're losing millions of species all the time. And that's, the single greatest reason for species loss today.
You talked about how this harms the animals, but how can we combat this?
How can you combat this?
Yeah,
by taking wasteland and converting it back into forests, by protecting existing forests, by improving the quality of existing habitat and ensuring that there is no further damage or degradation. So basically by controlling human beings.
How can we encourage more women to join this field?
How can you encourage more women to join this field? I think, as I said, when they look at other people like me, who are women working in the field, and realize that it's a really beautiful place to be, and it's a job where you can really make a difference every day. You can change a life, you can save a life, you can, go out there and do real good. I think people come out and realize that it is possible to do. And it's something that all of us are capable of doing. And I think that's what really encourages women to come out.
So how can we change or challenge misheld beliefs about animal sacrifices or societal malpractices?
So I think it's a question of a lot of awareness and understanding where those beliefs are coming from. I lived in Nepal for a while, and Nepal still has a lot of animal sacrifices. But I think with growing awareness, they are now putting a stop to many of the rituals and traditions and practices. However, you need to understand that this is a part of some cultures. And you can't just go in and say you can't do this. You need to be able to do a slow shift in mindset and explain to them that there are other ways of looking at things. That theirs is a way and it's a good way and you respect their way. But yours is also a way and it's also a good way and it does less harm to the planet and to wildlife. And I think that's how people slowly learn to change their behavior.
So my question to you is, what would be your message to all the people who abuse animals?
They need to stop. The same way that I tell everybody who abuses children, the same way that I tell people who traffic human beings, all of these things have to stop. As responsible people, we cannot take mistreatment of any type of life. It's wrong. And it needs to stop now. I'm not even giving them an option. It needs to stop now, right now. It's unacceptable.
So I believe we have another, I believe Shikhar has another question for you. He's
sure.
Okay, so what is your message to the youth? How can we help contribute to making a better, a more sensitive and a fairer society?
A sensitive and fair society. I think it starts by what you do every day in your daily lives. I think you need to be aware of what is happening around you, and you need to be aware that there are other creatures in the world, that are sentient beings. That there are creatures with emotions, with feelings, with needs, with requirements. And it's not about just doing something and using something for a few minutes because that's what you want at that moment in time. It's about being aware that every action has a consequence and every reaction has an impact, and you need to be really aware of every action that you take every day, because everything that you do is connected to everything else in the universe and has some sort of chain reaction somewhere. And if you decide as a person to become a citizen of the planet, to lead a life that is more responsible, and you're not a use and throw society, but you learn to recycle, to upcycle, to reuse, to be careful, to stop using plastics, to look at how many batteries you use and how you throw them away, how much concrete you're using when you grow up, when you have the decision-making powers on choices to make for travel, for lifestyle. You start from now, you understand what you're doing, and every little action, even how many pencils you use. I mean, I always tell someone there's this pen that they make which lasts for 80 years. If we each had one pen that lasted us our whole lives, can you look at that one pen in one hand and how many pens and pencils you use and throw away and sharpen and ballpoints and everything that you use? So if you just had one of those pens and you had all of this stuff, you probably have a barrel of stuff on one hand, one pen on the other hand. So you just make these conscious choices. You start finding out, asking questions, and never be afraid to question a grown-up. Do not ever be afraid to ask the question. And if one person won't ask somebody else, reach out, talk to somebody. But there'll always be somebody out there in the universe to help you, to guide you, to support you. Don't be afraid. Okay? That's I think, the most important thing.
Okay, I think I'll ask the final question and then we can conclude the session and then you can present. So my final question to you is, what is the most important lesson that we humans need to learn from nature?
How to coexist in harmony. And the fact that every animal takes only as much as it needs for survival. It's only humans who do things for greed and for hoarding and to have great wealth. Everybody else only uses as much as they need. If every human being learned not to be greedy and to use only as much as they needed, things would be very different on this planet. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Swara, you want to say something?
Yeah. So I just wanted to thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for not only answering all our questions, but for also sharing such valuable information on wildlife conservation. And there are so many things we learned today. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. And I mean, keep in touch, and anything that you want to ask, as I said, just drop me a message and I'm there. I will answer. I make it a point of answering mostly everything. If I miss your question, write to me again and I will pick it up for sure. Anytime. There's no restriction on that. Now we've actually hit the 1 hour mark. Do we go over, or do you want to end here? How do you want to do it?
No, we'll just conclude and then you can present your photos.
Mhm.
And then we have a certain certificate of appreciation for you, and then we'll show a video, and then we'll conclude the session. I think it'll take about 15 minutes extra.
All right.
If it's fine with you.
Of course. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So conclusion.
Shaurya?
I'm not sure if he knows, but he's on mute.
We can't hear you, Shaurya.
Okay, no worries. Okay,
Yeah.
no worries. It was a pleasure meeting you, ma'am, and we really look forward for you to show the pictures which you want to show us.
Okay, so let's get on to share screen. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to just take a minute. Lots of you asked me about what I do, and I thought I should just quickly walk you through this presentation and show you what I do. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so why worry about a few cats? Why do we want to preserve cats? Can you see both the screens or one screen? I'm just wondering.
I can see both, I believe.
Yeah, both.
I can see both.
Great. Okay. So you can see one with the full screen on there.
Yeah, so one says big cats of the world and the other, I believe, has pictures of actual like wildlife.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's me in the field doing all sorts of madness. The one with where I got the pointer now is the one where I told you I was climbing up in Gombe and all of that was happening. Here you can see me on the right side walking with the pumas. You can see this in Chile in Patagonia. And I actually walked as close as 3 feet from the pumas, and I was there for 3 weeks. So it was just absolutely incredible and mind-blowing. I walked with a pack of wild dogs in Africa. They're also called the painted hunting dogs. And this was just an amazing, amazing experience. So that's some shots of what I do in the field. This is when I was doing my doctoral work, and I would be in the field with the tigers. I lived with the tigers for 5 years. It was absolutely magical. These are some of the tigers that I lived and worked with. You know, they were tigers that I knew how to find them. Any minute of the day, you could come and say, I want to see so-and-so, and I would take you there. 35 tigers, and I knew them all. But it's not always just like this. This is a very graphic image. I'm going to show it very quickly and move on. Conflicts do happen when you're in the field, and you can have injury and deaths happening, both of human beings and of tigers. You also have animals that are injured and orphaned. This is a clouded leopard called Jenny. She caught her foot in a trap and it had to be amputated. So she now lives in a zoo. And there are 2 little bear cubs whose mother was poached, and they were being brought up in the wild. This is a tiger that was being burned. And when I saw this, I decided that I needed to turn. I no longer had the luxury of working in research, and I needed to work with people to change awareness, to make sure that there was less conflict at the interface of protected areas and human habitation. So these are some of the cats that I've photographed. I wanted to show you this because wildlife is just so amazing that you needed to see these pictures to know how amazing these are. So tigers. And, you know, these guys, I can just talk about each one as an individual. Each one has a character. They're just all extraordinary. Leopards. This is a mother and cubs. They live in a place called Javai. There's a great talk on this today on Instagram and YouTube and my Facebook page. Do have a look at it. You'll learn a lot from the talk. These are leopards. Now, leopards have rosettes. That's how you can tell the difference between leopards and everything else. Their rosettes, you can see the rosettes on their, sorry, I'll go back. You can see the rosettes without anything in the center. It forms a little flower-like pattern. I'll show you the difference when you come to jaguars and cheetahs. Lions, Asiatic and African. Now cats don't really chew their food. They bite them off, they tear them off in huge chunks and swallow them. And that's what this one is doing. It's just actually pulling a chunk of meat off to swallow it. There's also some lions called the tree climbing lions, especially famous in Lake Manyara in Africa. Now, lions are the only social cats, and they live in prides, and you often have cubs of different ages in one pride, and every mother will mother all cubs. And this is an elder cousin and a younger cousin, and they were having this little tete-a-tete. And he literally gave him a kiss on the nose, and that was that moment in time. And of course, there were these munchkins who just, you know, had to be picked up and taken home, but I was good and I didn't. But they just wanted to hang out with me, and they would come right up to the car and, you know, just want to hang out. And every now and then one of the mothers would get up and say, not, that's too close, come back. But it was fantastic. And these are, but it's, you know, it's not just about the whole picture, but sometimes the details are what are really important. So you can actually tell the difference between lions by even counting the marks, the little marks with their next to their whiskers, and it's like a fingerprint. Each one will be individual. So you can actually go into the field, find the dots, make little patterns, and then go back. The next time you see the same pattern, you'll know which lion it is. It's a fascinating thing to do. This is a jaguar. And jaguars have rosettes, but they have a dot in the center of the rosette. Leopards will have a rosette which is smaller, but with no dot in the center. So that's how you tell the difference between a leopard and a jaguar. I mean, besides size and whatever, but from a picture, that's how you tell the difference. These are jaguars in the Amazon and in the Pantanal.
Miss Nath, I have a question. Have you ever seen a black jaguar?
Yes.
Do you have any pictures?
And not in this slideshow. But yeah, black panthers, black jaguars, and even a black tiger. Whoa, yeah.
Nice.
And now we have golden tigers. One of you is from Assam, right?
Yeah, I am.
You're from Assam, Aruhi, and do you know that they have very special tigers in Assam?
I got no idea. I've just shifted here. I just keep moving every other day.
Okay, so you have the only wild population of golden tigers in the world, and they're being seen in Kaziranga. So tell your parents and go out there for a holiday and go and see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they don't have black stripes, or do they?
They don't have they're almost not there. You have to see pictures of them. Google them and see. Golden tigers. Golden tigers of Kaziranga. It's a subpopulation. Okay, cheetahs. So cheetahs, you know, are this strange mix between a dog and a cat. They don't have retractable claws. They also have these amazing tear lines that come on the side of their face. They don't have rosettes, they have spots. Okay, and cheetahs have, can anybody tell me why we have these black lines on the face of the cheetah?
Is it to
prevent glare?
To prevent glare, because they run so fast and they need to be able to see. Great, super. Okay, so cheetah, this one was trained to sit properly, and you can't have anybody posing better. She was just absolutely on full alert. She was standing there posing because there was two young male lions that had entered onto the grassland on the other side of the grassland. She was worried about what they were doing. She was sleeping until then, and then she saw them come up, and so she stood up on full alert and was watching them come closer and closer till the point where they hit her circle of fear, and then she took off. And cheetahs have like a fire burning in their eyes. It's really, really amazing. Yeah. And you often find cheetahs sitting like this under the only bit of vegetation on a little mound, so they can see what's happening around them and be prepared for what's going on. This is a cheetah called Martin. He had just made a kill and he was about 2.5 feet from my face. So though I could only get this much in my picture because he was too close. Puma, mountain lion, cougar, the cat with many names. You have them all across the US. This one is in Patagonia in Chile. And like I said, I walked with them so you can see how close the animals were. They live in terrain like this. It's very, very cold. It's 180 kilometers from called Binca. And this is a puma called Rupestre with her little cubs. She had 4 cubs and I would sit with them the whole day. Now this is a snow leopard in Ladakh. And Eurasian magpies were bothering it. It had killed a calf outside a village and it was sitting guarding its kill. And these magpies would go, and one of them was actually cheeky enough to hop right up to it and pick up the tail by the end hair on the tail and drop it down because it was trying to get to the thing. And this guy got really irritated. And this was 1 second before he actually took the head off that magpie because they were just bothering him so much. There's another little snow leopard. She's called the Guillermo. There's a film called Guillermo on Animal Planet by my friends Mike Pandey and Gautam Pandey. Look it up, Google it, see it. You'll see these pictures and this video footage in it. I gave them a lot of the video footage for the film. This is the snow leopard. Last but not the least, the magical clouded leopard. They're only found in the rainforests of northeast of India. So Assam, you have them again, Arushi. And then they go into Bhutan and they go into Burma and they go into Borneo. And, you know, in 2007, the scientists actually discovered that the Sunda or the Bornean clouded leopard is a separate species altogether. So we got a new cat species, a new big cat species in 2007. And it's the smallest of the big cats. So these are clouded leopards.
So I've heard of something called the spotted civet. Is civet anywhere related to big cat? Or
no, they're not. No, they're not. Okay, so let me stop sharing screen. How do I stop sharing screen? Oops, can one of you do it? It just seems to have disappeared. Where is it? Hang on, let me just see if it's on here. No, it's disappeared. Where's it gone? Ask to unmute. I can't see it. Can you guys? Ah, here it is. It went behind this. Okay, voila. It went behind the little video things. Okay.
Yeah. Pratibha ji, you want to go ahead with presenting her the certificate?
Yeah, Ms. Latika, it has been an amazing 1 hour, and I'm sure the children and every viewer has been taken on a totally different journey, which they have not encountered. It's I really thank you from the entire EBC team, and there's so many valuable things which you have shared for the teens. One of the main things what we are trying to do as part of this EBC program is to introduce teens to these kind of amazing thing that's out there, which normally we would not even get a feel of.
Happy to do this anytime. I mean, we haven't even talked about the diving yet. That's another world altogether. But
oh my God.
yeah. So I met some whale sharks this year, which is incredible. But yeah,
so beautiful.
I'm so delighted to talk to all of you.
That's so amazing, because the young children are the people who need to hear these important messages which they carry for future, because the world is still revolving around the engineering and the medicine and the lawyers, and it's really crazy that the important things are just lost, And one of the things what we want to do in EBC is to carry these messages to schools as well as part of our program in the future. So we really look forward to you being part of our program and supporting us with all that we are doing.
So what I would recommend, especially since now many of you are schooling at home, I think all of you are schooling at home. I'm doing a series on big cats, which is on every day at 5 p.m. On my YouTube channel and on my Facebook page and Instagram. And this is the greatest experts in cat conservation from across the world. So we have 35 experts from 10 countries talking on 8 cats. Whenever you have time, have a look at these. You'll really learn a lot about big cat conservation. Yeah.
Surely,
I did watch a couple of them.
Great.
It is very nice.
Good.
Also, Ms. Latika, one of the other aim of this program is also to take these children into big conferences where, like you were saying, the climate change, the marine conservation, the wildlife. We think they're too young and it's too early for them to go there, but I think it's the right time for them to start becoming aware, start raising their voice. What do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll connect you to my cousin, Latika Nath. She's just started the first collaborative on climate change for India. And she works with Tata Trust. So for climate change, she's a good connect. And for wildlife, of course, very delighted to connect. And if something is coming up, we had a huge wildlife conference in India this year, an international one, which got sadly postponed ad infinitum because of the lockdown. But whenever something like that happens, very happy to connect you. There's also lots of stuff happening. There's some great meets that happen in the States, in Canada. You must absolutely be there. It's
wonderful,
their time.
wonderful.
Great.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing to connect with you, and we really value the time you've spent with the teens. So on behalf of the teams, we would like to present you a certificate. Of course, in this kind of a world, it's going to be an image. I will surely email it to you after the session.
Thank you.
I'll share my screen.
Yes.
I hope you can all see.
Oh, wonderful.
This is especially for you. We really look forward to seeing you again, and we hope that we can make a close association with you and take these important messages across the world, because our all the members that we have are from various parts. And if each of these children carry this message to their schools and their surroundings, I'm sure they're going to make at least some difference.
I'm sure, yes. And I'm really delighted to do this. I mean, this is something I really enjoy doing, and it's been really lovely listening to the questions and talking with all of you. So fantastic.
Thank you so much. I would like to play a video which is actually it has been created by the teens. It conveys the message of EBC teens. So for all our audience, I would like to play this video now.
Super.
Auntie, I don't think we're able to hear it.
I don't think, did you share screen sound?
Okay, let me just stop.
Yeah, you forgot to share the computer audio.
Sorry, I think I missed that. Let me do that again.
Ever wondered why most billionaires wake up at 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
Because they know how to use their brain to its maximum capacity. When we wake up, our brain operates at a frequency of 10.5 Hz. The range of 8 to 13 Hz is known as alpha stage. By waking up at 4 a.m., our brain is in between the theta and alpha stage. This point is the gateway to our subconscious mind. It is a time when deep and profound learning takes place. Another impressive fact known by most successful people is that our subconscious mind is the most impressionable. Whatever we hear, see, or are exposed to in the first 20 minutes of waking up in the early morning will affect us and set the tone of the day. Now we know the reason for waking up early. But why should we sleep early? Studies show that the time between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. is when the body benefits the most from regenerative and deep sleep. After 2 a.m., sleep lacks the quality that we need as it becomes more superficial. Depriving ourselves of this quality sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. makes us wake up even more tired in the morning than when we went to bed. This is where the Early Birds Club plays a key role for us. We are inspired each day to wake up early and pursue our goals. Our aim is to transform ourselves and every single youth in this world to become passionate and goal-driven. What is the Early Birds Club? We are a family where each individual aspires to live positively by having a unique and fresh morning routine. We believe that the early hours before sunrise is important. For one who wishes to live consciously, by maintaining positivity, stability, confidence, and productivity throughout the day. Why Early Birds Club? At the Early Birds Club, we are nourished with positive affirmations, motivating podcasts, and yoga videos on a regular basis. This precious time in the early morning from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., which was also recognized in the ancient scriptures of India as the Brahma Muhurta, is believed to be auspicious for any positive action, which will have a multiplied effect if done in these hours. Listening to positive affirmations in these hours of the day make it seep deeper inside our mind and in turn keeps us focused and calm throughout the day. Early Birds Club is also a platform that enables teenagers to build leadership qualities and meaningful relationships with peers by engaging in community and social activities. Do you know why successful people are not affected by laziness? It is because they wish to utilize each and every minute of their life for a higher purpose and to add value to the lives of others. Billionaires like Tim Cook, Oprah Winfrey, Dwayne Johnson, and Kevin O'Leary feel that the silence of the early morning helps them to use their potential to the maximum. Waking up early sets a disciplined routine in us. A disciplined morning guides us to a whole day of discipline. Our goal is to carry ourselves as one family and make each and every youth of this world disciplined, compassionate, goal-driven, and independent individuals with unshakable moral values. What will the club do? We support and encourage each other to adopt a productive morning routine, thereby bringing positive changes to ourselves and others. We engage our members in interactive online discussions with successful people from various fields and walks of life. This platform can also be used by the youth for social outreach activities, for which they will be awarded certificates. As a family, we spread awareness of this practice and grow the participation to make this a large movement, which can have a multiplier effect on uplifting vibrations of the world to more positive levels. We children, the future of this world, must dream big and open our wings of fire and soar high into the sky together. As this club is made for the teens and is run by the teens, it would be the best opportunity for each one of us to support and encourage each other's dreams and goals, which would create an everlasting impact on this world. With discipline and determination, the two pillars, let us plunge in for a positive and vibrant lifestyle. Want to join Early Birds Club? Contact us.
That brings us to the end of this program. From the entire EBC Teens team, we would really like to thank you, Ms. Latika, for this beautiful time we all had.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for